One of our other assistant commissioners is Scott Raftery, and Scott is in charge of quite a bit of responsibilities here. And what I'd like Scott to do, first of all, if you could give us your background of what you were involved in before you came on to CIF, and then kind of your responsibilities here at CIF.
Again, my name is Scott Raftery. I've been in the office for about 1.5 years. Prior to that, I was at Linfield Christian in Temecula for 18 years. Okay. I was involved in a few of the committees here. I was actually the small school releaguing chairman. I was on the softball advisory committee. I was on the releaguing committee. Served on council as our league representative and league coordinator for 18 years, and no more, probably about that length of time. So sure. It's an interesting fit for me here, being that I have the small school eyes, because we do have a large number of small schools in our section, and so it's been nice to be able to bring that component to the office, although I wasn't hired for that particular reason. But it did give a little bit better view on what goes on in the small schools.
Exactly. What is something that when you come in each day, what is something you look forward to be involved with that CIF offers? How would you be able to share that with our families that are going to see this?
Probably something I hear from on almost a daily basis is a question of how we operate and how some of the smaller schools could better operate in the way that they do business and the way that they handle their transfers. A big component of what I work on here is the hardships, and those are all the unforeseeable, unavoidable, uncorrectable acts that are non-athletic in nature for the kids that have caused a burden on them or their families. So I look at those, and have been seeing a large number of not just small school, but private school students leaving and going for whatever reason it may be, a lot of financial issues, going to the public sector and helping them through making those decisions.
Sure. What would you suggest to just specifically small schools? What do you see as some of the glitches that happens on a consistent basis that small schools could, if they could address, could make their situation much better?
If they could, and you know this as well as I do, because I know how involved you are as well, if they could answer the question themselves of I didn't know.
Yes. There's
so many times that the small schools, because of the loads that the athletic directors have, that it was, for me, teaching 4 classes a day, 2 of those advanced placement, not having secretarial help, running the athletic program, lining the fields, coaching my own sports, right. Driving the vans. I never had to get the bus license, but to help get to those questions. So my response is get involved. Get involved in your league. Make sure that your league is meeting on a consistent basis, that they're meeting all the time to discuss council items, issues that are coming up within the CIF or wherever your organizing body may be, to get answers to those questions, to understand, to not have the attitude that it doesn't apply to me, so that things don't come up in surprise. I know there was a major concern about how some of the playoff structure was in boys basketball, and there were some folks that did understand and spoke loud and clear, and it caused the office to take a look and restructure with a couple of years' work, restructure how those playoffs are going to be. So it's not just involvement in the league, it's understanding your league constitution, it's understanding the blue book, it's understanding, getting, even coming to a council meeting to hear what goes on, to see how it happens, and volunteering your time if you have any left after that busy day to maybe serve on a committee here in a particular sport or an area that might be of interest to you.
Say with our families or even students that might be seeing this, your experience over these multi-decades involved in athletics, what would you suggest to them as a parent and as a coach, a very successful softball coach, as an athletic director, and now in the CI office? How would you make those 4 years of athletic experience in CI, how would you make it just fantastic or the very best you could?
I think it's in working together as a team. It's obviously it's athletics, and team is a big component. It's not us against them. It's not you against the coach. It's not the school against your student. It's working together to make the best environment possible, to reach out to the opponent. It kind of breaks my heart. I heard a situation that came in of a small school that was playing a league member, another school, in a football contest. And that school had some information about an athlete on the other team, and they waited till the game was over to then spring that information on the school, and now there's possible forfeitures. That's the kind of situation, and especially from the small school, Christian school mentality, those are the things that up front, make that contact ahead of time. Talk to that other coach. It's not that school against your school. Something we've worked real hard on, and I know we did it when we were competing against each other, is when the students and the parents can see the coaches having such a good relationship together prior to the game, after the game, it can build that attitude of what we call appropriate competition. rather than we're out to get you, it's us against them. Understand, to communicate with your other schools, communicate with your league members, communicate with those around you to make it all happen together.
Excellent. Well, we thank Scott for taking the time today, and I hope this information can make your school even better.
Thank you.
Assistant Commissioner at CIF Southern Section Office. And Reiner, if you could just go through, kind of give us your background, what brought you here to the CIF office, and then what your responsibilities are here at CIF.
Well, I am new here to the Southern Section Office, hired this June. I came from Trabuco Hills High School, which is a school in Mission Viejo. Kind of a unique situation. I came there with the school being only 2 years old. We had about 900 students. When I left 21 years later, we were at about 3,300 students. So I've been involved in a small family kind of small school environment, and then saw all the steps involved in the growing and the building and the constant construction that goes on at school sites. And I was a boys basketball coach there for 17 years and an athletic director the last 10 years. And so this is a new opportunity to impact high school athletics on a broader scale, not just one school or one league or Orange County, but a southern section of over 570 schools.
And then your responsibility here at CIF?
I am responsible for cross country, boys and girls cross country in the fall, along with girls tennis. And during the winter, very big responsibility is boys and girls basketball. And as we know, we now have grown 2 more divisions in each on both sides. So we've got 12 boys divisions now, 12 girls divisions. So that's a big undertaking. And then in the springtime, track and field for boys and girls, and boys tennis.
And then what's something that every day when you get up to come here to the office, what's something that excites you? What do you feel that you're impacting?
One of the neat things about this job is that every day is different, every phone call is different, every conversation you have is different. I feel like in the Southern Section office, I'm fresh out of a high school. I'm fresh out of what everyone out there is going through. And I believe that I can bring a perspective that maybe when you're in an office for a period of time, you kind of lose touch just naturally, the natural progression. And by being straight out of a high school, I think I can bring some fresh ideas to the office. And I know it was funny because some of the old timers said, "Oh, you're moving over to the dark side." And I was kind of surprised because my relationship with CIF has never been that. I always felt that we were on the same side and we were working for the betterment of high school athletics for the kids and everything involved in high school. But there were always some that felt like we were on the other side. And so I guess in my heart and in my mind, I want to touch those people who don't feel we're on their side, to get them realizing that we are working together for the betterment of high school athletics.
And then one of your focus has been on dealing with the kind of new alignment for basketball. If you could just give us some general comments as we get just a few weeks away from basketball season.
I think this is a real exciting idea that has been put together by SCIBCA, which is the High School Basketball Coaches Association in Southern California. And it kind of evolved from the last 2 go-rounds, I guess you would call it, of how the divisions were broken up. Initially, because the state playoffs were geared towards enrollment, all of our schools were placed into divisions based on enrollment categories. Then there was a change back to competitive equity, and so leagues now were all placed in their own grouping. The problem with that was if you had 1 or 2 very strong teams within that league, the entire league was driven up in divisions. And so there was a lot of inequity, I felt, as an athletic director and as a former basketball coach, that happened. What this is kind of a hybrid of the 2. It looks at enrollment, but it also looks at how your individual school has done in the CIF playoffs over the last 4 years. And it's an ongoing process, given a point value, where your team, if you've been successful, can be moved up in increments of a half a division, or if you haven't been successful, move down a half a division. The idea being that each school is looked at individually. And as a basketball coach and as an athletic director at a school site, I like that. They're looking at my school and how we've done in this sport. If I were to project 5 years down the road, I see this being refined further, and I see quite a few other of the sports jumping on board with this model as well.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, we appreciate Reiner taking time out of his schedule to be able to share some of the ideas he has and things he does, and we hope this helps you out with your experience in high school.
Thank you, Mark.